What makes a kid's show good? Is it the entertainment value, the moral of the story? Is it the graphics or the storylines? Well, it's probably the one that serves as the best distraction, right? It's hard to find what kids' shows have a greater purpose than entertainment, but the ones that do are by far the best. Today, I'll be telling you about what is, in my opinion, the best children's TV show in history, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Before we get into today's video, if you want to see more content like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing. It helps me a ton. That being said, let's get into the video. On April 5th, 1954, a show aired on WQED, the PBS station in Pittsburgh, and it was called The Children's Corner. The show featured a man named Fred Rogers as the puppeteer and composer. The show was an unscripted program that aired every weekday in the afternoon. Now, 7 years later, Rogers moved to Ontario to work on a show based on the Children's Corner called Mr. Rogers. He eventually acquired the rights to the show and moved it back to WQED. He made a few changes, and for the finishing touch, he renamed the show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now, the show lacked the funding necessary and the show was canceled in 1967. But the popularity of the show garnered the interest of Sears, yes, the department store, and Sears funded the show, allowing it to be seen across all of the United States. The first episode aired on February 19th, 1968, and ran until 2001. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this show so special? Or rather, what it is if you've never actually seen it. Well, the show is a live action show with different segments in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and in the land of make believe. Now, the show starts by panning over a landscape filled with miniature cars, houses, and people while the intro music plays. Then, Mr. Rogers sings his infamous theme song as he walks onto the set, takes off his coat, and puts on one of his infamous cardigans, and he sits down on the couch. Take a listen.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?
That entire intro is such a work of art, and personally, I love every element of it. First of all, that music is stunning. As you listen, it's like a wave of calm and peace wash over you. I also love the whole diorama at the beginning, and looking at it almost fills me with a childlike sense of wonder. Then Mr. Rogers walks in with a warm smile on his face, and he begins to sing the theme song. One of the best elements for this intro is how it's so casual and calm. Nowadays, intros for shows, they're very loud and they're full of action, like the one in Teen Titans Go, for instance. But in this intro, it's a lot calmer and casual, and it makes you feel like you're a guest in Mr. Rogers' house. And I know I'm sounding sappy right now, but anytime I watch that intro, no matter how bad things are going, no matter how bad I feel loved and appreciated. And here's where one of the biggest differences between this show and modern day shows makes itself known. You see, modern day shows are meant to be a distraction, so you can forget the bad things going on for a little while. But with this show, it's different. One of the reasons this show is critically acclaimed is that it helps children cope with real issues. In some cartoons, you'll get episodes that are designed to teach a lesson, but with Mr. Rogers, he'll actually sit down with you and discuss it. And I mean, he handles real issues: death, divorce, sibling rivalry, school problems, you name it. He lets you know that it's okay to feel the way you do. And when you watch modern day cartoons, they're about the lives of the characters in the show. When you watch Mr. Rogers, it's about you, the viewer. And that's what blows other shows out of the water. There aren't really shows out there who have learned to replicate this. And yeah, I know I haven't gotten past the intro, but it's because it really summarizes the show in a minute and a half. But I digress. So, next, he has an opening segment discussing some sort of topic. Sometimes it's helping kids cope with tragic events in the real world, or sometimes it's a visit to the graham cracker factory. And he'll ask you some sort of question like, have you ever felt like, or have you ever tried? And that's the sort of segue into that segment. And no matter what adventure you go on, no matter what you learn about, you're still part of the adventure. And yeah, cartoons will do this as well, but this is a lot more relatable. Like when you watch Mr. Rogers, it's like, oh yeah, I can relate to the feelings he has. Whereas cartoons will be like, yeah, no, I don't typically get stalked by a fox wearing a bandana mask who tries to steal my stuff out of my purple sentient backpack. And now we move on to the next segment of his episodes, which is the segment about the land of make believe. So, for these segments, you'll take the trolley over to the land of make believe. And when you get there, you'll meet Lady Aberlane and King Friday II. Some of the characters in these segments are real people, some are just puppets. Fun fact: Mr. Rogers also does the puppets for these sections too, which I love. It's very wholesome. And so, these segments are nice because it encourages children to use their imagination. So, the whole show as a whole is a really nice balance between imagination and reality, which sounds really philosophical, but both aspects are important in a child's life. There's also a clear distinction between the two, which is also nice and something many shows don't have. And eventually, the trolley will return to the real world, and Mr. Rogers gives us his final thoughts, and he heads out the door in the same fashion he entered. So, this show does a lot of things better than modern ones. It's calm and warming. It focuses on real issues instead of ignoring them. It encourages children to use their imagination. But I think the thing that really sets this show apart is the fact that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is about the viewer, not Mr. Rogers. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe and leave a like. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Peace out.